Okay, so I've had lots of people ask me, how do you know where you're going? How do you do your planning? How do you avoid bad areas and all kinds of different questions around how do you do it, kind of stuff. It comes down to all this gear that we have. We have a laptop with a custom setup. I'll go through that in a second, and then we've got a secondary navigation system, and this is also a backup for this primary navigation system should that ever go down. I also have another backup for this. It's an identical laptop, so all I would have to do is pull out the hard drive, pop it into the other laptop, and boom, I'm back up and running again. I also have two receivers, GPS receivers, so that if I ever lose a GPS receiver, I have another one to be able to tell us where we are, because that's absolutely critical. And then we have paper charts as a final backup, which you technically need anyways legally, especially if you're going through areas that you don't know, to be able to have paper charts for where to go. Then we've got all this equipment along here, our winds, depths, and auto helm system. So it's all pretty cool of how it comes together though. So this here is a chart plotter on the laptop, and it does a lot of different things. First off, while we were away in the winter time, I plotted every single waypoint that we had to go through, so that the boat would actually know the exact course to take every step of the way. And that we did that for, oh, what is it, 3,000 kilometers? And I think there's something like 1,200 waypoints. So 1,200 places that I'm telling the boat where to go. On top of that, through this system here, it will tell me all of my different tides, because you need to know when the tides are coming and going. I don't know if you can really see that, so that you know when do you want to leave, when do you want to anchor, when you're looking at the depths. Am I looking at low tide? Am I looking at high tide? It's important to know what accurate depths are every step of the way. Another neat thing is, and the question I get asked a lot of is, what about weather and whatnot? So I can click anywhere on here. It'll tell me what the tides are, because the tides are different every different place. It also tells me the same thing for weather, so I can pull up any spot here and I can pull up weather forecast, and for that specific place that I clicked on, it tells me exactly what the current weather is, and any future weather forecasts, and it even gives me some details around the location. I can pull up pictures, all kinds of different neat stuff. We also have, for weather, another application that we use that I purchased a license for, and what this does is tells you anywhere in the world what the current wind currents are, and waves and all that kind of thing, and then it predicts quite accurately about a week out. So because in some points, when we were traveling along on the outside where the Atlantic Ocean is, there's points where you wouldn't be able to get back into land if you had to for a couple of days. So it's really important to be able to plan that out accurately, so that you don't end up in a nasty situation, or being able to say, let's stay put, like we did in Norfolk. Was it Norfolk? Yeah, Norfolk, where we said, let's stay put, we're going to wait for a weather window. And just by waiting around for one day, we were able to travel really well for the next 5 days. And kept us out of all the nasty situations.
Except for
Yeah. Oops. And I dropped something. Okay. Then on top of that, we have our VHF radio. And that might seem pretty simple, but when I got my captain's license, there's a few things that I had to get. So my SVOP, my Med A3, which is Marine Emergency Duties, and then navigation, and also your ROC, which is the license that you need in order to operate VHF radio. And it has lots of cool features on it. It has a distress, so like if you're wanting to call 911 from a Marine perspective, all you have to do is push that button and it starts signaling where you're located. You can also call a Mayday, which is like, hey, I'm in life desperate situation, or a pan, which means I'm at risk, but I'm not, in personal turmoil, I guess. And then of course there's other channels like channel 16 where you can call other boats. Like when you're traveling along, some of the ships and whatnot, they ask for permission to be able to pass you, and they let you know what side they're going to pass, and you're talking back and forth quite a bit. And then you can go to other channels and you can just be like a chat away with your friends and whatnot. And then there's WX channels, which actually give weather information. That's really old school, pre-internet, all the technology, but it's still quite valid. And it's good as a backup in case you ever need to get weather. And that course, that certificate that you take is how to be able to speak on the radio, because it's a very specific way. Just like when we're coming up to locks or coming up to bridges, we have to call them up, let them know that we're approaching, and make arrangements to be able to go through the lock or go through the bridge. So for a simple radio, there's a lot to it. Back to this guy again. The neat part was being able to make this work with the rest of the system, because we have all this plotted, and I know exactly the exact location where I want to be next, and the course I want to be able to take. I wanted this to tell the boat where to go and how to be able to move. So this system here is a Raymarine system, and I got to give them a good plug here. Their support, their technical support was excellent. All of these units are actually connected on a network, and it's very similar to 10BASE-T, if anybody knows what that is. Just a very, very old school network. But being able to make this laptop compatible and be able to speak with this stuff here was a bit challenging, and it took a little bit of figuring out. And with the support from Raymarine, which was just excellent, I was able to set these units up to be able to help me to make them speak with this unit here, and then also with this guy over here too. So they all communicate back and forth. So this laptop will tell this auto helm where to go, and then the auto helm will, through this unit right here, will actually steer the boat and drive the boat. Of course, you have to always stay and pay attention, but it really does work extremely well. So this one here, I usually keep it zoomed out, not quite as zoomed out as I am here currently. I was just showing the charts, and so I usually have it zoomed in a little ways, just so that I can see what's coming up in the next kilometer or two, just so I know what to expect for bridges and what have you. And then this guy over here, my backup navigation, I use this just to keep a close eye at the same time of local depths, where the markers are, where I am very specifically, is there any obstacles, things like that. Couple more things on this, because it's really cool. One of my friends asked, do you have AIS? And I said, no, I don't. And then I realized afterwards, this unit actually has AIS on it. And what that is it will show where other boats are. And so anybody with an AIS system, their boat will actually appear on the screen, so I know where they are. So it's kind of like having radar. And also I can transmit AIS, so I'm telling other boaters, hey, I have a boat, this is exactly where I am, so look out for me, and let's not meet by accident, that kind of thing. So really cool stuff. That's obviously the engine and whatnot, fuel. So this one here is for wind. And this one is actually really interesting. And unfortunately, I can't really show you too much because we literally right now have zero wind. We're in a beautiful spot in the mountain areas up along the Hudson, getting ready to drop our mast down to go through the Erie Canal. Oh, there we go, 0.1 knots of a wind, 0.2. So this tells you the direction. The red and the green is just a reminder of rules of the road for boating. If somebody is coming up on your port side, you are shining a red light at them, which means that they are not to cross over you, or you have right of way. The green light, if you're facing the boat over on your starboard side, you're giving them a green light saying you have right of way, I'll stay out of your way, that kind of thing. So it's nice having that little reminder. Then it tells you the wind direction, and this is critically important. A neat thing about sailing is that if the wind, see, this is the boat here, right? If the wind is coming at you and you're going into the wind, you can actually set your sails in a way where you are moving against the wind, which is really, really cool. If you think of it like a kite, if you put up a kite in the air, how do you make that kite go the opposite direction of the wind? Well, in sailing, you can do that. So with this boat, and monohulls, they can point a little bit higher, but this one, it's a minimum of 30 degrees. And then you can do exactly that. And what you do is when you see where the wind is coming from, the direction, you know how to set your sails. So at 30 degrees, you would set it so that your sails are literally the shape of an airplane wing. And that creates enough thrust to be able to propel you forward. So even though the wind is coming at you, you're still moving up and up forward. Reversely, if the wind's coming up directly behind you, you would turn the shape of your sails into like a parachute. And so you're trying to capture as much wind as you possibly can, and off you go. My personal favorite, and I think Noreena's too, is when the wind's coming in at about 70 to 80 degrees right here. This is when we're hitting 8.5 knots of sailing. I would suggest the fastest we would probably ever go would be like 9 knots. I have seen other boats, the Geminis, go at as high as 11 knots, but they had what's called a screecher, which is a really big extra sail. And I got a train coming. Where'd he go? There he is. Noisy as could be. Okay, hopefully, nope. All right, so hopefully you can still hear me. So knowing where the wind's coming from is absolutely essential, but even more so than that, you need to know your true or your apparent. True is what the wind actually is doing, and apparent is what the boat sees. And what that means is that, say if the wind is coming at you at 10 kilometers an hour and you're running the engine and you're moving at 10 kilometers an hour, well, that would mean that the true wind speed is 10 kilometers an hour, but what the boat will see is 20, right? Because you're moving at 10, the wind's coming at you 10, the boat sees 20, and just by a push of a button, you can see the difference. And because we're standing still and we're not moving, apparent and true are the exact same thing, right? But if we were moving, then that would change. Over here, depth sounder. You know, I think knowing your depth is kind of obvious as to the requirement. It tells you the water speed versus your actual speed. because when you're moving through a current, if you're going with it or against it, you're going to have your actual speed that you're moving as per land, but you might be going way faster in the water because you're fighting current, or you might be going way slower. So it's good just to know how fast you're going in the water versus how fast you're going on land. And then it also tells you temperature. This one here is a saving grace. Turn it on. So this one is, first of all, it's a compass, and of course I have a compass right there as well too, but this one here is actually the one that I use, and this is the auto helm, which actually will steer the boat. And there's multiple different ways of being able to do it. One is I can have my laptop tell the auto helm what course to go to and what direction to take for each waypoint. This unit here can also communicate and talk to it and tell it what direction to take. So all I have to do is say, okay, follow my laptop, and it just follows along and keeps going from the next point to the next point. The other thing I can do is I can say that I want to set it manually. I want to go, due north, or I want to go absolutely east. I just want to do that for the time being because perhaps there's boats in the way, all kinds of different obstacles. We use that feature quite a bit. And so I just hit auto, and then I can tell it what course that I want it to take. So I can go auto, and you can see that the starts to move, that kind of thing. And I tell it what course to take. The other really cool thing that you can do with this one is you can tell it what wind direction. So when we're putting the sails up and there's wind, it's very difficult to put your sails up when it's catching the sail. It's extremely difficult. So what I can do on this one is there we go. I tell it I want it to follow a very specific wind direction. So I can say if the wind's coming down this way, I want the boat to go directly into the wind. With your nose directly into the wind, it's very easy to be able to put your sails up because they're nice and loose and floppy. If you're off just even 5 or 10 degrees, they start to catch, and it's very, very difficult. And wind changes constantly, especially out on the ocean and whatnot. It's constantly changing. So having this say, okay, always keep the nose directly into the wind is a huge advantage. Also, if you're in a race, or if you're just looking to be as efficient as possible on your sailing, you can tell it back over here. You can say what whereabouts do I want this needle to be at all points. If you remember, 70 to 80 degrees is our favorite because that's where the boat is most efficient and you really pick up a lot of speed. I can tell the unit to follow here and set it wherever I want it. Now, most people think, well, you should head directly to your next waypoint. But if you're doing that at 5 kilometers an hour, but if I go just slightly to the right, now I'm moving at 10 kilometers an hour, even though I have to tack, I still get there that much faster. And it's fun, right? And also sometimes if you get into low sailing or low wind conditions, your sails might start flopping. And so you want to go on a slightly different course because, hey, the whole point is sailing. It's not about getting there fast, it's about enjoying the ride. I think that's it, to be honest. So anyways, really cool. I'm getting so many questions and people asking about how to be able to do all this stuff. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching.